Hey, welcome back to the weekly recap of It's a Football Thing. As always, I'm your co-host, RJ the Balanced Blue, joined by my fellow co-host, Scott the Gooner, Rob the Red Devil. Welcome back, everybody. Scott, I'll go you first, my man. How you doing?
Doing well, mate. Doing well. I can imagine you're on cloud nine this week, and we'll talk about that soon. Some good A-League action as well. Very entertaining to watch. So much football to talk about. I have a feeling I'm a little bit cheerier than Robbie at the moment, but look, I'll let him say how he's going.
He's all smug, isn't he, Robbie? He's all very smug, Mr. Scott. But Robbie, tell us how you're thinking.
Mate, it's Robbie the Raging Red tonight, mate, because I'm not happy. It's all day, mate. I've been just cooking, and I'm just going to say, lucky this is a G-rated show, mate, because you would see another side of me tonight if it wasn't. But look, as always, happy to see your faces, boys. Calms me down a little bit, and I'm ready to unpack it all.
Beautiful. And let's take it from the top. So the synopsis for the episode is obviously it's the weekly Premier League recap. And at a high level, we know the race for the top, the race for the Premier League. City are on top. Arsenal are sitting on their tails and keeping them honest, to be fair. The top four race all of a sudden has become a thing now, which was a foregone conclusion. But now it's not so cut and dry. And then, of course, the real action, the tail end of the Premier League. Some are in the thick of it, and some of us are happy to ensure their Premier League survival. But let's not dawdle around too much, boys, because there's a lot of football to unpack.
100%. Look, the relegation battle's heating up. We know that. Your team obviously found some rich goal-scoring form, mate. You scored more goals in that game than you had in like the last 6 months of football.
That's our season tally, boys. I'm stoked.
Havertz, Felix went to the second in your top goal scorer ratings after netting one. But look, in all seriousness, RJ, big points to Chelsea. We can laugh, yeah, but I don't think in anyone's wildest imagination they thought that Chelsea and potential relegation would go even in the same sentence, like, and not that you were close to relegation, but the fact that it even became a mathematical reality is mental, considering everything going on. But just talk us through the match, because obviously you would have been happy to see 3 goals, 3 points, safety.
Beautiful. And you're right, because technically there was like a 1% chance of it unfolding, given all the ramifications and what would have had to take place to have that freakish result happen. But for us, the context is Bournemouth have been recently resurgent. They found some form. They've been playing pretty good football, and you can check the results over the past month or so. They'd really picked up themselves and put themselves in a good position, because I think it's fair to say, like most people, at the start of the season, they had Bournemouth definitely gone for the drop. So the Cherries have done pretty good for themselves so far. And for the most part, Chelsea were the more controlling team, although Cherries looked good on the break. We started off with a really nice worked goal from Kante's cross to Conor Gallagher, someone that's much maligned in the Chelsea community as the one of the roadrunner variety. But we scored a good goal, but then typical Chelsea fashion, they conceded a real top shelf goal from Bournemouth, so real credit to them for their equaliser. And then in the second half, it was a really even clash. Although we continued to dominate possession, etc., territory, we couldn't find the breakthrough, which has been much of the story of our season. And then Super Frank, for all of the criticism, which has been fair at parts of him, he got both his lineup right, but the substitutions. A lot of people were saying, why are we bringing this guy on? Why is Madueke coming off? Blah, blah, blah. Ziyech comes on, delivers the cross for Badiashile, the player he brought in. Raheem Sterling and Felix, both subs, both linked up for the third goal. So for as much of the criticism Frank gets, and rightfully so this season, in that particular match, he was absolutely bang on with his personnel and tactics. So 3 big points, 3 good goals, and you know what? It's nice to get a winning feeling back in the camp.
Here we go. You'll like this comment, RJ. Look at that. RJ discussing a Chelsea win. Am I dreaming? Look, Robbie.
On your Nick. He's a legend, by the way.
I don't know if you've got a lot you want to say on this, but I have to laugh at this guy. Like, I love him to death. He's got just the optimism and childlike innocence that I wish I still had, but he still has to find. This is a team that have lost God knows how many games, spent whatever they spend, and we're talking about relegation, they still has to sneak in the Frank Lampard praise as if Lampard's not.
They deserve the criticism. I've always said it. But it's not just the Frank criticism, because what annoys me the most, Scott, is that Chelsea have been awful before Frank got there, and they've been awful since he got there. But in this particular match, he got it right on. His players were good. Madueke, what a great young talent he is. And again, Badiashile, the two players they brought in, Mudryk started, wasn't the best. But again, everything Frank done from the starting lineup to the substitutions directly resulted in a positive outcome. So praise in isolation, but we'll take it when we can get it.
Robbie, do you see Frank? Because I think it's pretty clear, unless Bowley's having an absolute mare, you would have to assume Frank's not getting the job. Yeah, and it was pretty well communicated that wasn't a reality when he took it. Do you see Frank Lampard, though, Robbie, being talked about at the Premier League managerial level in the next year or two? Or do you think he's going to have to go earn his stripes or sit in a pundit's bench?
Yeah, look, he's obviously had the raw end of the stick because of late, if you put his Everton and his recent Chelsea stint together. But look, I don't think anyone at the moment is going to be saying, "Oh, I want Frank, I want Frank, I want Frank." But again, that's not a disrespectful thing to him. It's just I honestly watched him that season at Derby, and I actually watched championship games just for him, and I thought he'd done a good job. I don't know if that was a combination of the players he had and the managerial way he went, but obviously, again, I've seen him 2 times at Chelsea. He hasn't, he's not someone I think has really gone to the next step, even at Everton as well. But look, he come in, and I think it was a bit of a survival thing what he's done for them. I think he's a club legend at the end of the day. They've asked for a lifeline, and he said he answered the call straight away. So respecting that. But yeah, look, I think this one, I wouldn't say important 3 points. I think it was more a monkey off the back for Chelsea fans, man, because there was a very long time going without 100%. A win. And I think it's just for them, they could use this possibly as a little bit of a momentum to end the season on a high. I know they've still got some difficult fixtures to come, but if they can get another 1 or 2 wins or that back-to-back win, where it hasn't happened in a long time, I'm sure for Frank and the rest of the squad, that'll put a bit of confidence in them.
I agree with you, Robbie. Look, I ask you about Lampard and his managerial prospects. Your manager, who I think has done a brilliant job, has been one of the better managers in the league this season. You've not been in the greatest of form recently. You haven't looked the way you did at the start of the season. Rashford's purple patch seems to be settling. I saw a lot of criticism this morning, and I didn't watch your game. So this is where we're going to need you. I saw a lot of criticism of Erik ten Hag from your fan base and from the wider football community. And I did see, obviously, a lot of criticism of David De Gea. It was a howler. That I saw.
100%.
That was a howler and not his first. Talk to us, obviously, about the result, but I want you to kind of focus on those two guys. Was the criticism of Ten Hag fair? Do you think he's kind of dropped the ball a bit recently? And David De Gea, what do you guys do with him next?
Yeah, no worries. Look, I'll cover the Ten Hag thing firstly, and we all know what Twitter world is after a loss. Let's just cover that straight away, because I've seen people out today, Ten Hag out after these guys for the whole season have been like, he's our king, he's our savior, sign him for the rest. It's just Twitter reaction, man. And look, I'm not going to lie. This morning I reckon this was probably the crankiest I've been all season. And like you said, I've seen some amazing stuff. We've had the 7-0 against Liverpool. We've had a couple stupid
that was
draws.
Pretty bad, Robbie.
No. But that one there was just like, okay, yeah, next goal. But it was just, it happened. But this one here this morning, honestly, I reckon that was probably our worst performance this season. I'm being serious. It's just, we looked shot. We just looked all over the place. Obviously it didn't help. We started the game well. It's not like we just turned up and we were playing shit the whole game, because the first 20 minutes we were all over them. And, the past, I'm going to say nearly months, we're not clinical at all. And that's we're considered as well today. We're having issues both ends of the top of the pitch and the bottom of the pitch. So obviously the De Gea blunder is a massive one, and it's not the first. That's why obviously highlight today. But look, I was super cranky as well with, it's a shocking blunder, and it's lost us not just the 3 points, but it's really put us under pressure in the top 4 race, which is massive. And I think this season, I think they said it's 4 of his mistakes that have cost us a loss or cost us points, which is massive. But a lot of people always forget that David De Gea this year has also probably won us.
Probably saved you points.
Double those games as well. So look, in the moment, it's a shocker. It's it's really stuffed us up today and put us the pressure on. But he's definitely come up this year during the year and done more than his share of massive clutch saves to get not just wins and keeps clean sheets, but that where we could have lost the game and he's kept us in it, or where he's kept us in it when it was 0-0 and we've gone on to win it. So look, a lot of people aren't as balanced as my good friend RJ here, but and with Ten Hag, look, he's been amazing this week, but everyone deserves criticism where it is. And I think in the last 2-3 games, I think his substitutes, especially in that Brighton game, which again, 98th minute penalty by a handball, unlucky. I would have taken a point away to Brighton in the form they've been in. We end up losing the points there. Today, it's our first back-to-back losses since round 1 and 2 when we went down to Brighton and Brentford. So, so obviously that's our first, which is a long stretch of time as well. But yeah, I think he's number one. The players, we've said this for months and months and months. Manchester United have played the most fixtures in more than anyone in the whole Europe at the moment. They've made it nearly all fixtures. All the competitions have nearly made it 10. Obviously, we've just been knocked out of the Europa League. And the players are literally running on fumes. We've had our fair share of injuries. We've obviously in the second leg of the Europa League to Sevilla, we lost one of our best players of the season, Lisandro Martinez and Varane. Since then, we've had to swap players here and there, which have been decent, but it's just not the same. And honestly, if we make top 4, it's going to be just, falling over the line, because I really do think we're running on fumes at the moment. We really need, this will be actually, after this weekend, this is our first time since the World Cup that we haven't played 3 times or 2 times. We haven't had we won't have a midweek game this week for the first time since the World Cup. So I'm hoping this is a bit of a reset button, because we really need to reset, reboost, and these last 4 games in our hands. We literally have the cards in our fate in our own hands, because Liverpool, as you can see there, are right behind us.
Mm-hmm. And look, RJ, I know a team you give plenty of praise to. We all do. Brighton win their 2 games to put them on level points with United, and they're 58, 61. The thing I think they've got going for them with Brighton is that Brighton still have to play Arsenal and City. Yeah. So I think Brighton drop points, but Spurs are still hovering around. I think it's highly unlikely for them. Liverpool.
For me, it's. I think Spurs are out of the equation now. It's
pretty much. Look, it's Liverpool.
I'm even going to count out Brighton, and that's not disrespect. I do see them dropping points in one of those games. Liverpool, for me, I told you when they were in 8th, and you said there's no chance. And I said, you go back and have a look. I said, do not count out Liverpool. I don't know. They've had luck on their side. They've had a bit of form on their side, but I don't know how they've gone from so far away and just creeped up like nothing. Like I said, I know we've got a game on them, but we had 2 games on them this morning and still stuffed it up. So I'm panicking. I really am panicking at the moment.
Yeah, and to be fair, Liverpool, along with City, are the form team in the competition.
They are.
In the Premier League. You know what I mean? And the thing with Liverpool is they didn't just become a bad team overnight. You know what I mean? Like, they've had some unusually poor results, some bad injuries, whatever. But now we're starting to see a bit of reversal in good luck or good fortune, and they're starting to capitalise. Like, I watched the game against Brentford. Now, it was deserved lead, but Brentford were pushing hard for an equaliser. It had that really good goal disallowed, and it was a marginal offside. But so they haven't fully rediscovered themselves, their true selves. But what they have rediscovered is that grit and that winning mentality to be able to get themselves in a position which we thought, even though there's still outside chances for top 4, the very fact that they are close enough to strike, if you or Newcastle buckle some more, it's a credit to what Klopp and that club are doing at the moment. So I hate praising Liverpool, but you've got to give credit where it's due, and they are a team that you can't muck around with too much, because if they qualify for Champions League, they're going to have a pretty good transfer window. They'll get a couple of midfielders in, and all of a sudden, they're a team that nobody wants to play against.
100% agree. 100%.
It's unfortunate, but Brighton, and I think you're right on Brighton there, Robbie. A lot of respect to them. If they can finish 6th, that's amazing. A stellar season.
It's amazing.
Absolutely, it is. Absolutely. Look, speaking of amazing seasons, boys, Arsenal this morning pulling out what I feel was one of, if not our most impressive performance of the season, to go to St. James's Park. And that play, that was electric. That was electric. You could hear that atmosphere pumping. To go there after what happened to us around this time last year and come out with a clean sheet, come out with 2 goals, and come out unscathed. I can't put into words how good a feeling that is as an Arsenal fan at this point. As I've said, and I did a pod with some other Aussie content creators, it was a few days ago, a couple of days back. That was with the guys from Toon Down Under podcast. So check them out, give them a sub. I predicted a 2-2. Now, I did predict that, saying that I didn't expect Gabriel to play. I thought Rob Holding would be there. But Gabriel came back in, and Kivior was looking impressive too. He's a big specimen. Zinchenko didn't get exposed. Still lots of chances. They could have scored very early on. They found a lot of space down Zinchenko's side, which is still a concern for me. But I think at the moment the reward outweighs the risk in some of our fixtures. So we've just got to go for it. But I could praise every single one of the Arsenal players, to be honest. Everyone did their job. The growth of Granit Xhaka has been remarkable. There were a couple of moments in that game where I thought, oh, God, he's going to do a Xhaka. We're going to lose him for the next few games. And he just kind of managed to pull it back in, calm himself down. Teammates put the arm around him, pulled him back, and he stayed on. He hasn't had a red card in so long. I'm not going to jinx it. But look, I was so impressed with the team. I think Newcastle deserves some credit too. This game could have been 2-2, 3-2, 4-2, 5-2, 6-2, because they had plenty of chances. I did text you, Robbie, this morning saying, or in our group, how is it that Gareth Southgate has 2 of the 2 best keepers in the Premier League for me?
He plays Pickford.
And he still plays Pickford. Like Pope and Ramsdale put on an absolute exhibition this morning. Both those keepers were brilliant. So a big 3 points, because it's still alive. Even though I don't see this City machine dropping points, it is still alive. And all they've got to do is drop points once. I'm now a lot more confident going into the Brighton match on the back of what we did this morning, because you're not going to play anywhere, I think, harder than St. James's Park like it was this morning. Newcastle, best defence in the league, I think. It's either them or City. And to do it so well, I'm feeling good about the Brighton match coming up as well. So I don't know if you boys caught any of that match this morning or if you had any thoughts on it, but for me, plenty of positives. The dream's still alive. Robbie, did you catch any of it?
I seen the goals and the little highlights, but I honestly do want to watch this one on the mini match, considering how well you just said it. But look, you know, man, you don't have to. I'm on the Arsenal bandwagon for the rest of the season. I want you guys, like I said last week, if you guys keep putting the pressure on City, it's alive. You guys aren't dead in the water. You had a big hiccup for a couple of weeks there, but you know, you guys have got what do you got, 3 or 4 games left? That's all you've got left. Go out, try and win all those games, and just see what happens with City. Because again, they've still got other things on their mind, like the Champions League that will get to soon. But you guys are still in this race, you know. And like I said, it only takes maybe one bad result, and that can swing hands again. And then then they've got to put the pressure back on again. So, look, I think you still got a couple more tricky games, but that was one of the tricky games this morning, and you got over that with flying colours. So we'll just we'll wait and see.
Jorginho was very impressive this morning. If only Chelsea had a midfielder that good, hey? My Regista, my man. RJ, do you think Arsenal can win this title? And what do you make of this goal? I can't remember where I heard it this morning. I took in a lot of football content. But someone pointed out the fact that had Arsenal not been so good this season, we probably wouldn't have even had a title race. Would have been like over and done to City a long time ago had we not stepped up the way we have this season. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I suppose, but that can happen in a lot of seasons where the team that doesn't win was the one that's pushed the champions all the way. So it's not just Arsenal are just this random team that everybody else stuffed up on. I just think that they happen to be the challengers, and of course, they're still in it. There's still 4 or 5 games left. The reality is you guys surrendered a pretty strong position a few weeks ago, and that's just the painful reality, and you guys will grow from that potentially. At the same time, it's interesting because you got a really important result against a really difficult rival at their home ground. But like you said, it could have went either way. And then 100%. It's a very different narrative. They don't hit the post twice. If Ramsay doesn't make that killer save against Shah, and it went both ways. Pope made some good saves. You hit the post as well. But again, let's just say it's 2-2. All of a sudden, you threw away the title, bad result. The performance doesn't get praised the same way because you conceded a lot of chances. Yep. So I'm not convinced Arsenal have rediscovered themselves. You got a good win against Chelsea, but let's face it, everybody's getting a good result against them at the moment. So it's important you got the result. But against Brighton, I dare say that's actually a harder contest because Newcastle, while they are in a better position, they haven't also been in great form themselves. So, look, good result, kept yourselves in the title race, and it's good for the integrity of the Premier League that you're pushing the champions all the way to the end, and that's all we can ask for.
Such a hater. You're dead set, mate. Such a hater.
I can't stand Arsenal.
Just do us a favour against City.
Credit where it's due, mate. Credit where it's due. Arsenal have been very good challengers, and I'm sure people are going to remember second place in 20 years' time.
You keep telling me how good this guy Frank Lampard is, yeah? As a gaffer. I want to say, listen, if you get even a point of Manchester City, that Drogba scarf behind you, you bring it over. We're around the corner.
I just want to get 10% possession. Don't worry about points. Don't worry about that.
You know what? You bring me that Drogba scarf, I'll wear it, man. I'll wear it for our stream. You just take just 1 point, take off them, and I'll model that Drogba scarf, mate. If it wasn't so cold.
You know what? I hope, Frank, I don't care what happens now. I'll happily tell them, guys, just let them walk through the goals, boost up your goal difference, and let's
you're a scumbag.
20-0.
You're a bad bloke. I'm telling you, mate, you're lucky it's cold because it'd be nude with that Drogba scarf on, mate. Tell you what, I just wouldn't have to point the camera down. Good evening to Mo from the Blue Lounge. Mo will ask the boys to do a favour for me. He'll tell them to go out and beat City, not like you, RJ. Declared a lot of hope still needed. Yeah, look, we're going to hope. We're going to hope. Frank Lampard, super gaffer. Always loved him. Boys, any other results that you wanted to talk about? I wanted to ask you a question about Declan Rice because obviously we talked about that result. Declan Rice, again, superb. Rumours are that West Ham are still going to hold out for 100 million for him. Is it a little bit greedy, a little bit crazy, considering his contract's winding down? I think so. He's been a good servant. I think it's time for him to go. Name me one team who you could see realistically going out and paying 100 million to bring Declan Rice. And if not 100 million, if you don't think anyone will, what do you think someone will get him for? Arj?
Yeah, you go first, Arj.
Yeah, look, to be honest with you, boys, I think there's a few clubs that will be chasing him, both Premier League and otherwise. I think he'll stay in the Premier League. Obviously, I would like him to come to Chelsea because I do think that a DM is needed, and if it's not him, it's someone else equivalent. But I don't know if we have the kind of money at the moment due to our own issues we've got to get rid of players. But I think, look, United have got money. I think Arsenal will be in with a shout. But to be honest, beyond that, I don't think City would spend the money on him, given that some of the players that they've got, unless they were able to take a cut loss on, say, like a Calvin Phillips or somebody and then fork out the rest. But to be honest, that would just be cool if he was able to go to City.
Does he start at City?
Well, that's the thing, right, Robbie?
Yeah, look, I rate him. Again, I watched him today, and he was the best player on the pitch today. And sometimes it's a big talk, overrated or whatever. Like, look, we've come up against him a few times since he's been talked up. And to be honest, we probably, Scott McTominay in the past has got the best out of him. But today, he really looked class player. I think he will stay in the Premier League. I can actually see West Ham getting, if they, I can see them putting him up for ransom. I said give us the money or we keep him. I really think it'll be like that, or wind your contract down and he could go on a free if they don't get the money he wants. I really, yeah, but sometimes people want like that, man. Like, look, they're in another European semi-final. No, it's not the big one, but if he wants to move, mate, they're gonna be like everyone else. This is what we want.
I could not see him walking out on a free though, Robbie. Like financially speaking,
what's he got? 1 year?
You got to think, he's a good player. He's a great player, but let's also remember he's not Ronaldo, he's not Messi. They get 75 plus million. You could get a Caicedo, you can get replacements. They might not be the same, but they surely wouldn't get him for nothing. I don't think you could just let him walk out for free.
Look, I understand that. Just I don't know. I really think that you're gonna have to pay. I reckon there's nothing under 80 million for him. And like I said, I don't think he'll go to City. I think there's only a couple. Like I said,
I think he's coming to Arsenal.
I just can't see. I can't see you guys paying that much money. That's the thing.
You know what? I see us dropping 80. We were going to drop money like that on Mudryk.
Yeah, true,
I see Declan Rice in the Arsenal jersey next season.
Think England, one of the best midfielders at the moment. I think his price tag is going to hold around that price, especially with Bellingham looking like he's going to go to Real Madrid as well, which a lot of people thought he would come to a City or a Liverpool. I can see him at Real Madrid. So if he stays in the game, like I said, a midfielder, an English midfielder of his age and his class, I can see it's going to be a bidding war. If not, I can see West Ham keeping him.
Interesting. RJ, I know you said there was another result from the round you wanted to mention.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention really Spurs' 1-0 result. I think that's big for them in terms of keeping their European ambitions alive. I know it's not top four. I still think it's a bit too far for them. But just the Europa, but also Harry Kane. And more about the comments that were made about his latest goal and whether or not, if he was playing for Man City, he would also be on 35 goals. Just what are your guys' reflections on that?
For me, he's not Haaland. They're different players. Kane is going to drop deeper. Kane is going to want to be involved in the build-up and the goal, whereas Haaland is he's the cherry on top for Manchester City. Everything they do is sweet. Everything they do has attacking intent and the aim of getting the ball into the box, usually down low. With his speed, his reactions, his reflexes, and his lethal instinct, Haaland just finishes that. I don't think Kane has the legs to be pumping the kind of goals Haaland does. Top player. And
that's my point, Scott. I think
not a top finisher like Haaland.
Well, that's a good one. And this is now a quick fire. Are Manchester City stronger, in your opinion, with Haaland or if they had Kane?
Haaland.
Robbie?
City, Haaland.
Interesting. I reckon
Manchester United.
Kane.
I think.
No.
If you ask me who
Kane.
the better footballer is, I'll go Kane. I really do. I think for me, Haaland is like a Van Nistelrooy for if I'm going to go to a United term. He's just an absolute clinical finisher with his head, both feet, in the box, everything like that. But footballer, like I said, Harry Kane can play as a 9. He can play as a 10. He can link up. He can use his head, both feet. He can have his back to goal. He hasn't got pace, or he hasn't got maybe the height of Haaland, but yeah, I just think that he's a little bit more versatile and a little bit more of a better footballer. But Haaland is a killer of a goal scorer. But yeah, I
agree. But Haaland is the more predatory finisher.
Yes,
but I think of someone because I have so much respect and admiration for Harry Kane, despite 100%. The poor club he plays for. But I just think because of just how much quality he has overall, I think players of that quality, it's like game recognizes game. They will find a way to blend in with a bunch of other great quality players. So I think even though their dimension of their attack would be different, I still think Harry Kane's contribution to Manchester City, I'd happy to go out on a limb and say if they had him at the start of the season, they would be on a better points difference than what they are now. That's what I think.
With Haaland, in lieu of Haaland.
No, I'd say if Kane was there at the start of the season for City, they would be in a better position than they are now.
Obviously, if they had Kane and Haaland, I mean,
not
saying,
and Haaland,
he's saying
Kane
just
for Haaland. If it was just Kane instead of Haaland, I think City are in a better position.
I have to agree with RJ on that, and I think that he would have the same goals as well. Honestly,
as Haaland, no, I don't think so. Kane's
what's he on? He's on like 25 goals now with a Tottenham, and like dragged them across the line. Can you imagine if he was getting tap-ins every 5 seconds at City?
I think he'd be getting as well.
I think he wants to drop back and take the ball off De Bruyne. He's going to get in Grealish's way. He wants the ball everywhere.
He's going to drop
to do it himself.
Drops back in, exactly. He's got to do that to get the. Can you imagine having De Bruyne and like Silva and Barres around you delivering goal? Grealish, Foden. Like
there's no point delivering him the ball if he's in the center of the park trying to get his feet on it. Whereas Haaland is there. He's putting that final piece of the puzzle. I think. And this is a side rant, but I think Haaland has been shown so much disrespect this season for what he's come in and done. To come in, easily break the scoring records. There have been a lot of good strikers who have played in quality teams. Thierry Henry, my GOAT, everyone knows that. He couldn't score with this output. And I think he was phenomenal, a freak. But fact of the matter is he played in great teams. Yeah, Pires, Ljungberg, Vieira, plenty of players. He couldn't do this.
Yeah,
Drogba had plenty of good players. He couldn't do this. Haaland has been so disrespected because our expectations of him are so high. Not just us, everyone.
Not just him though, but also Manchester City are also the reigning Premier League champions, and not just a team that fluked their way. They've been the best team for the best part of a decade in the Premier League, and also everybody knows that Manchester City were already a dominant attacking team. When you put a very strong striker, naturally your expectations are going to be up here. So I just think Harry Kane adds a lot more additional quality than just the very obvious qualities that Haaland adds. But either way, they're not as good as Havertz. I think we can all agree.
Yeah, that's it. Look, let's move on. Obviously, very good chat there about Rice, Haaland, Kane. Sometimes the best ones, boys, are the ones that come off cuff. Champions League. I know I want to quickly mention the relegation race too, but let's look at the Champions League. We've talked about Real Madrid. They popped up. We've just talked about City. We're back. Champions League action is coming. I know Robbie loves this. I'm very much looking forward to it. These are our semi-finals. We've got Real Madrid, Manchester City, and then an Italian derby, Milan versus Inter. RJ, excited?
Pumped, mate. Pumped. Inter, after a very good 2-0 win against Roma, a fellow top 4 chaser in the Serie A. Milan as well, also chasing top 4. Because of the whole turnaround of events with Juventus, all of a sudden, this has added a lot more weight for both of these teams now to be a genuine pathway to qualify for next season's Champions League. So it's added so much more spice to this clash. And look, to be honest with you, Inter have been a little bit hot and cold lately, domestically, and Milan too, to be fair. But overall, I'm feeling somewhat optimistic that the Nerazzurri get their way through to the final. So I am pretty pumped for it, boys.
What's your... Actually, you know what, Robbie?
Lukaku's back, mate. Lukaku back.
Before we do some quick-fire predictions for that match, what's this say about Italian football, Robbie? What does this semi-final say?
I think it says a lot of positive things, to be honest. We can't even just in Europe in general. I think there's 6 Italian teams in the semi-final over the 3 competitions: Roma, Juventus, and Fiorentina, and obviously the 2 Milan teams. So, really flying the flag. That obviously the most represented country in the finals across the competitions this year, and it's a big positive, man. We've seen what Napoli's done this year. I really thought they would have been here instead of obviously one of the Milan clubs in the semi-final, considering what a season they've had and some of the form of their players. Obviously, just won the Scudetto after 33 years. Congratulations to them. But I think it's a positive thing, man. There's a lot of young talent in Italy at the moment. There might not be Italians, but all different nationalities, and they're just not one hit wonders that kind of get sold off. They're sticking around. There's been the last 4 seasons in the Serie A have been 4 champions, which for a long time was after Juventus went 9 straight, to have 4 new champions in a row is positive, man. Considering it is, and like as much as we love the Premier League, like what's that? City have won 6 out of the last 7 or something. Like it's been very one-side dominant as it was with United when we went through our kind of thing. So look, I think it's a positive thing. Do I believe that everyone's in with a chance? Look, my spoiler alert, I actually do think over the 2 legs Inter go through here. But what scares me is that other game, mate. City and Real Madrid.
Oh, look, let's quickly. You're predicting Inter to go through. I'm saying this for 2 reasons. One, besides Parma, if I had to back a team, it would be Milan because they've got my goat, Giroud. And that's the only excuse.
Chelsea legend, you're right.
They've got a banging kit and they've got Olivier Giroud, man. So I'm going to back the AC Milan boys to do the job against RJ's team. RJ, surprise us.
For me, it's not going to happen. All I know is Nerazzurri are going to get into the final. That's all I'll say on that. Because, look, now, honestly, I'm really excited to see the Giroud versus Lukaku matchup. But also even AC, their goalkeeper has been amazing. He's probably going to be, if they get through, it'll be because of what he does between the sticks. So he's been probably the form keeper of the competition and across Europe. So I'm hoping he's off on both legs.
Fair shout. Look, as a throwaway comment, and I've got to do it, I wouldn't be me if I didn't make it. I almost feel like that semi-final is a little bit redundant because, and it's not me trying to be a douchebag about Italian football, but I think those other 2 teams in the first semi, and it is a cup competition, anything can happen except Spurs winning it. Real Madrid, Manchester City, to me, the winner comes from this tie. Manchester City, to me, have just been superb. They've been near perfection this season. Real Madrid have put in some very tidy performances in the Champions League. And they've got some players who are just game winners. I do think Manchester City, though, are going to have too much for them over the 2 legs. Everyone's fit. Everyone's firing. As Declared says here, their medical team and the like have been great too. They've had everything going their way, City. And I think this is the year they lift the Champions League. I can really see it happening. So I'm going with Man City over the 2 legs here. What about you, Robbie?
I think Man City will blitz it.
You think it's going to be comfortable?
Honestly, I reckon they could win by a 3 or 4 goal margin over the 2 legs.
Why? What do they have that Madrid don't?
I just think they've got everything. They're peaking at the right time. I think that they've got a goal in target of that treble. I think this is a really massive chance for them to get the treble, and which honestly scares me so much. I just think they outdo everyone. We've seen last year, obviously, Real Madrid pulled off the miracle and turned it around and stuff like that. I'm not going to say it was a fluke, but I still think there was quite a bit of luck in there as well. Over the 2 legs, I still think City were better, but I just think they're flying high. I think, Haaland has been, as you said, that cherry on top for them. You can't not see him scoring. I know Benzema as well, respect to him and the whole Real Madrid team. Don Carlo, we've seen what they've done. They're the champions of this competition, but I think this is City's time, man, and I really think there's more of a chance of them winning the treble than not this year. I think they blitz Real Madrid, and out of whatever Milan club goes, I think it's an embarrassing score in the Champions League final as well.
That's a big shout, Robbie. What about you, Arch?
Yeah, it's scary because if anything, it's almost as if this competition is almost the most likely of the ones that they will win of all 3. To be honest with you, I think there's more variation of the Premier League going against them, and a cup final against Man United, who have had mixed success against them. Whereas in this one, Real Madrid, let's face it, they were extremely lucky last time round because they just had and you don't say it a fluke, I think it was a fluke. Like City's collapse was nothing short of stunning, but you can see how the game will play out. City will probably have 75-80% possession. They'll just sit back. You'll have the road runners like Valverde in the middle just chasing. it'll just be non-stop clearances. And you just hope for Real Madrid's sake that the likes of Toni Kroos and Modric, when they do get the ball in that transition, will just quickly punt it into the corners for the likes of Vinny Jr. to try to strike one-on-one. So you can see that's probably going to be like that. But I wouldn't be surprised if the tie isn't over by the first leg. Like, I just got this feeling that City's going to at least have a 2-goal advantage going into the second leg.
And are you City to lift the Champions League, RJ?
Yeah, unfortunately, yes, I do. The writing's on the wall, and Milan, both teams. Yeah, I just think even if either Milan team get through, they'll try to do the same thing Real Madrid will try to do and be ultra conservative. But City, we know the quality that they have; they'll break them down eventually. So.
Yeah. Oh, boys, very quickly, I want to put up the bottom of the table. Just to give you a look at the relegation for the Premier League. I know we jumped between the two, but tomorrow morning we've got Fulham, Leicester City, Brighton hosting Everton, and Forest, Southampton. Those are games that could have a little bit of an impact on the bottom of the league. We've still got Leicester hanging around, Nottingham Forest, Everton, Southampton, all in action tomorrow. All in action. This is really tight down here. It's incredible. I want to ask you, boys, are we all in agreement that West Ham now pretty good, safe?
Yeah, I think West Ham are safe now.
Yeah, huge win. Huge.
Yeah.
Tom asking, did he miss what needed to be missed? We've been waiting for you, mate. We're going to talk about that result in just a moment. West Ham, we can all say pretty safe.
Yeah.
That leaves it. Are we all agreeing that Southampton are done?
Yeah, Southampton are gone, man. We've been saying it for a few weeks.
If only they played Arsenal every week. Let's then look at the 4 teams in contention. Everton, Forest, Leeds, and Leicester. Boys, who on earth is going down? Considering that Forest and Southampton play tomorrow as well. Everton have to deal with Brighton. I don't think they will. Who's going down?
Look, I think Leeds are going to go with them. I think it's going to be Southampton. I've said that for a while. I still think Everton are going to go down, and I think Leeds as well.
Wow, you're saying so. Big Sam, who I can't believe I didn't even mention Big Sam. He's one of my life idols and sporting idols, proving that big fellas can do it too. Obviously, they brought him in a desperate attempt to save themselves from relegation and the financial damage that comes with that. Whether or not Big Sam can save them, we're going to have to wait and see, boys. But I think it was a good appointment for them. I mean, they had nothing to lose almost. They clearly had the money to bring in the relegation safety specialist. So if he can't do it, no one can. It's probably just a bit late. But I see Everton going down, which will be a calamity for them. And I think Forest go down too. I see this staying put as it is, to be honest, in this order. RJ, is this job too big for the man we call Big Sam?
Big Sam is going to be big gone for poor Leeds. I agree with Robbie. I just think when you look at their fixtures that they have, Forest have a slightly more favourable one, I'd say, at this stage. But Everton, I know they've got Brighton, but I'm still not convinced myself that Leicester have done enough to get themselves out. I look at Leicester's games. They've got Liverpool, who have been, again, a form team to competition. Newcastle away. We know that Newcastle had that little bit of a skid mark against you guys. And West Ham, that might give them some reprieve. But I'm not ruling out Leicester just yet. I would say Leeds for me. I do think it'll be Leeds, Everton, Saints. But I wouldn't be shocked if it ends up being Leicester, even though they're in the best position at the moment here.
It'd be mental to see Everton and Southampton go down. I mean, you look, Leeds couldn't really give a stuff if they go down. But even saying like Leicester, Everton, or Southampton, to see them go down.
Of them is crazy. Yeah.
Not every manager can save Everton from avoiding relegation. That's all I'll say.
If Everton go down, I could see them not getting back up like within a few years. I reckon they're gonna be down there for a while. That's the scary thing with Everton. Because I think they'll lose a lot of players. And I just think that we all know how hard the championship is. I just reckon they wouldn't bounce back straight away.
That'll be interesting, boys, on that, because if you look at that list, and out of the ones that gets relegated, are there any players you'd like to be opportunistic and snap up? Like for me, I'll go first to give you some time. If, say, out of those three teams, I had to pick one from each club. So for Southampton, I'd say Lavia. From Everton, I would take Pickford at the moment as a goalkeeper because we're struggling in that area at the moment. And say the third team was Leicester, I'd go all in for James Maddison.
Yeah,
so like there's just so many great players from each, like individually amongst these teams that you'd love to snap up.
Robbie, what about you? Who would you take?
Well, the Southampton one, I think everyone would jump on that. Lavia, he's pretty class. Leicester, look, Tillemans, Maddison. We've been linked to Maddison already. There's a few other quality players there. Oh, Everton. I don't know who would just jump out at me at Everton, to be honest.
Calvert-Lewin, would you take him?
Nah, I wouldn't take Calvert-Lewin. No chance.
Scott Wood, he loves Calvert-Lewin.
What would you rather play, Weghorst?
Yeah, honestly, I really would play. I'd rather Weghorst than Calvert-Lewin. I can't see him. I think he's overrated. He's injury prone. No way. We're not going to go in, even if it was on the cheap. I couldn't see us going in for him no matter what.
Yeah, look, if it was super cheap, there's not really players that I'd love from any of these teams. I wouldn't mind James Ward-Prowse, just for a bit of experience, just someone who could steady the ship in the middle as a squad depth option, obviously, with Champions League next season. Everton, I'd look at Calvert-Lewin. Again, he'd be a backup. Probably be third choice striker coming to us. From Leicester, maybe Big Harry Souttar to replace Rob Holding. But with Rob Holding going, I wouldn't mind having Harry on the bench, even as a fourth choice. I think he's levels.
What about Barnes? Do you guys like Barnes? He's a dynamic young winger.
Barnes, Maddison.
Would you take Vardy if he was going for cheap as? If they got relegated in the backup strike, would you take Vardy or not?
Are you asking me or all of us?
No, I'm asking you because at one stage he was linked to Arsenal a couple of years ago. But would you take him now?
He missed his chance.
Yeah,
he missed his chance.
Now. I think that age thing is
I'd take him for a transition period, but like what you said, Chelsea definitely need more players. We don't have enough at the moment, so definitely take him.
I like that. Boys, been a fun stream. We've talked Champions League. We've talked, obviously, Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester United. The boys are off. We're going to go have a party, celebrate Chelsea staying up. RJ's happy. They're not going down. Mission accomplished.
We're staying up. We're staying up in the Premier League.
10-year extension for Lampard. Bring it on.
Sign me up.
Everyone, enjoy your football. Take care. Look after yourselves. See you later.